I tell you what I believe. Shit happens.
You're not kidding, my Rastafarian friend. In 2018, shit very much did happen. And that shit had a name. The Predator. You know, I really love the original Predator. For me, it's one of the best sci-fi action movies ever made. A big, meaty, unapologetic slab of 1980s testosterone that stood the test of time better than any of today's crap is likely to. It's perfectly paced. It subverts our expectations by going from a standard action movie to a sci-fi horror film. It's filmed in stunning real-life locations. It introduces a genuinely intriguing and unsettling monster, an atmosphere of slowly building menace and danger, punctuated by scenes of bloody carnage and explosive set pieces, not to mention some of the biggest action stars of the day. Shit man, even Van Damme was gonna be in this at one point, although thank God they went down a different route. Predator 2 moved the action from the steaming rainforests of Central America to the equally hostile concrete jungle of Los Angeles, portraying LA as a stinking, dilapidated, war-torn shithole that nobody wants to live in. Not too far from reality, I guess. Predator 2 gets a lot of shit these days, but I actually thought it was an okay movie that expanded on the lore of the series and respected its predecessor without straight up copying it. It even had some pretty cool action scenes. Holy shit man, this guy does more coke than I do. Unfortunately, they made the fatal mistake of putting this piece of fan service in, mostly just for a laugh. But there's one guy who wasn't laughing. In fact, he decided it would make a great basis for a shitty cash grab crossover movie that effectively torpedoed two franchises at once. You fucking legend, Paul. Never change. Then they tried to go all serious with Predators, a movie that taught me three things. 1. Adrian Brody is not a viable action hero. 2. A predator should never be shown fighting a sword-wielding yakuza in a field of swaying grass. And 4. You need to use numbers properly in your movie titles, rather than just giving us subtle and confusing variations on the same fucking word. The upshot here is that the Predator series was in dire straits. Much like Alien, it had been rebooted and reimagined so many times that it was hard to remember how or why it had ever actually been good. Then came the announcement that a new movie was on the way, with Shane Black writing and directing. Now this seemed like good news at the time. Shane Black did some of the script work and even appeared in the original Predator back in the 80s, and he'd gone on to become one of the highest paid screenwriters in Hollywood. This was a guy who knew his stuff, a guy who helped start off the entire franchise, and if anyone could restore Predator to its former glory, it was him. I really should learn from past experience. Anyway, I'm about to go into my deep and penetrating plot analysis of The Predator, so drink 'em if you've got 'em, because like my stepdad used to say, you're gonna need it by the time I'm done with you. So, The Predator begins with a space battle that looks like a piece of B-roll from a Star Trek Voyager episode. A Predator ship is under attack, which cripples the engines, forcing it to crash land on Earth. And as luck would have it, it comes down near a US Special Forces team, headed up by that guy from Narcos. His team finds a crashed escape pod from the ship, along with the Predator helmet and gauntlet thing. And without skipping a beat, Narcos guy puts the gauntlet on and it locks into his arm, and he's like, nah, it'll be fine. What are you doing, you fucking ham sandwich? This is an unknown piece of alien technology you're holding. Why are you even touching it? Never mind putting it on your arm. It could be radioactive or crawling with deadly bacteria for all you know. Why are you not concerned that you can't remove it? What if it's stuck to you forever? What if it's a fucking bomb? Anyway, then the Predator shows up and kills everyone except Narcos guy, who uses the gauntlet thing to temporarily stun it. Wait, what? Why wasn't the Predator actually wearing this stuff? Why would it remove its own protective gear when it just landed on a hostile alien world? Why is the gauntlet even compatible with human physiology? Wouldn't there be some kind of sensor or computer inside it that would register the fact it was no longer attached to a predator arm? It's worth pointing out that all of this stuff happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Anyway, so Narcos guy runs away and then a chopper lands and some asshole named Traeger shows up to recover the predator technology. And what's this exciting, multifaceted character all about? He really likes gum. Great work, Shane. You're worth every penny, mate. So Traeger and his mates catch up to Narcos guy in a nearby town the following morning. How do they find him? Don't know, but it's okay anyway, because Narco Guy has a cunning plan. He turns invisible using a magical bullshit ball that he borrowed from Black Panther, then threatens a local bar owner into mailing the stolen Predator gear to his P.O. Box address back in the States. Then he swallows the magic invisibility ball so he can shit it out later. What is going on? Why would you ever assume this guy's gonna do what you ask him when it's pretty fucking obvious you're an extremely shady character on the wrong side of the law, and the gear you're trying to smuggle out of the country is highly illegal and possibly dangerous? What's to stop this guy handing it in to the local police, or the US military units that showed up literally seconds later, or even selling it on the black market for massive profit? Wouldn't US customs officers check a package like this and find that it contains dangerous alien technology when it arrives in their country? Also, why did you swallow the magic invisibility ball and allow yourself to be captured when you've literally just demonstrated that it can turn you invisible? Were you born a moron, or was it like a conscious decision? So anyway, now we're in Nowhereville, North America, where Narco Guy's son is getting shit from other kids at his school because he's got autism or something. Then he goes home and the stolen Predator gear gets delivered there by Postman Pat because Narco's guy didn't keep up his P.O. Box payments, so it went to his home address instead. This is what I really want from my sci-fi action movies. A deep insight into the workings of the US Postal Service. So Rain Man decides to open the package up and start messing with the Predator gear, and he can totally do that because of his super autism. Okay, this is where I have to pause the review. Why do movies like this portray autistic people as crazy mega geniuses instead of, normal people who have trouble reading social cues? Why does this kid display no actual evidence of autism apart from disliking loud noises, but then later he's around gunfire and explosions and it totally doesn't bother him? Whatever. So then we meet another random character. Wait, is that Psylocke from X-Men Apocalypse? So she gets recruited by Traeger to help study the captured Predator because she's a super smart scientist or something. Wait, why is Jake Busey in this movie?
A fucking alien.
Oh, fuck off, film. Meanwhile, Narcos guy is being interrogated by Traeger, who's looking for the crashed Predator ship. And he's just like, yeah, I don't give a shit, man. And Traeger's like, neither do I. So they dump him on a prison bus with Theon Greyjoy, the Punisher, and a bunch of other random dickheads who each have a quirky Shane Black character trait. And I mean, one each. You might say they have one dimension. Where are they even going anyway? So Psylocke and the other science people do their science thing with the Predator, and they discover that it's got human DNA in it. Where have I seen this before? And then it wakes up and kills everybody. Wow, you couldn't have restrained it better than this? Or put it inside a sealed chamber or something?
He's heavily sedated.
Why would you just assume that your drugs are gonna keep it sedated? It's a fucking alien with completely different physiology, you dicks. Then it finds the spare Predator mask that's lying around and uses it to hack the one that Rain Man is messing with. And I'm not kidding, it reads his fucking street address from a poster on the wall of his workshop. That is real, that is a thing which happens in this movie.
A fucking alien.
I'm starting to think that Shane Black might be a little bit autistic himself. So she goes after it with a tranquilizer gun because, an untrained scientist with a single-shot weapon will totally succeed where dozens of armed soldiers failed. So then Narcos guy and his mates get stopped in the bus outside the compound and they happen to see the Predator escaping across the rooftops. Wow, that was lucky that they all happened to be in the same place at the same time. Then Narcos guy and his mates escape the prison bus because apparently that's a really easy thing they can totally do. Kinda makes you wonder why they haven't done it already, to be honest. Anyway, they run into Psylocke and she tries to shoot the Predator, but then she falls over and shoots herself in the foot and passes out. Well, I guess I can't accuse the script of turning her into a Mary Sue at least. And then the Predator escapes by hopping onto a transport truck and pulling this swift move.
Everything okay back there?
So So they take her back to Narco Guy's house, where he expects to find the stolen Predator gear, but it turns out that Rain Man's decided to go trick-or-treating with it. How exactly is a small child able to wear a Predator helmet designed for a creature several times his size, weight, and muscle mass? That thing should weigh more than he does. But then some dickhead throws a tin can at him, because that's what people do to small children, I guess, and the helmet activates and blows up his entire house. And that's supposed to be funny? You're like 10 years old, and you're responsible for ending a man's life, kid. Hope this doesn't give you long-lasting emotional trauma. But then he gets chased by a pair of Predator attack dogs. Yep, that's another thing which is real. And they conveniently stand there while Narcos Guy shoots at them. They blow up one of them and shoot the other one in the head with a fucking bolt gun. But instead of killing it, it turns into some kind of actual retarded dog. What am I even watching?
A fucking alien.
What is the point in these dogs that do absolutely nothing except soak up bullets? They're even more dumb than the idea of using dinosaurs in a fucking war.
Imagine if we had these puppies in Tora Bora.
Fuck off, Vincent D'Onofrio. So they run into Rain Man's school, but the Predator catches up to them, and it pins Narcos Guy up against the wall, but then an even bigger Mega Predator shows up and kills it. Is this literally what you've got now? It's like a regular Predator, only bigger, so that must make it better. So they decide it's probably a good idea to run away now. But then Traeger finds them and takes Rain Man hostage because he knows where the Crass Predator ship is because his super autism lets him understand the Predator language. This is not how autism works. But then the retarded Predator dog helps the others escape, and they all arrive at the crashed ship about the same time as the steroid Predator, who sets the ship to self-destruct and tells them they should run away because he's gonna hunt them all down. And for some reason, they all decide to become best friends and work together. Wow, lucky they all happen to arrive at the same time. This script is pretty much built on a series of insane coincidences and chance encounters. So they run away and the steroid Predator picks them off one at a time. And Traeger tries to shoot it with a shoulder cannon, but he looks the wrong way and blows his own fucking head off. I love how bullets do absolutely nothing to this thing now. Like, they're hitting it with rifle grenades, claymores, automatic gunfire, and it just carries on like nothing's even happening. What's the point in even trying to fight it if it's fucking invincible? The original Predator wasn't invincible like this. Yeah, it was strong and fast and tough, but it could still be injured. Its advantage lay in its ability to go invisible. And a lot of the tension revolved around never actually knowing where it was or what it was gonna do next. But now we've just got this big hulking ridiculous thing coming at us. So the Predator takes Rain Man away to his own ship, but Narcos Guy and some other assholes jump on board, because you can totally jump onto a moving spacecraft from like 100 feet above without falling off or breaking every bone in your body. And one of them throws himself into one of the engines to make it crash. What the fuck? That would be like the Starship Enterprise getting crippled because it hit a flock of seagulls. Are you seriously telling me this interstellar warship wasn't designed to survive stuff like this? So the ship crashes, but naturally everyone survives, and Narcos Guy tries to fight the steroid Predator, but it does the same fucking thing that every villain for the past 10 years has been doing. It picks him up and throws him around. Over and over again, wasting precious time and effort and doing almost no damage. Why? You can crumple cars and kill fellow predators with one punch, you walking plot hole. What is wrong with you? Did you get a bolt gun to the head as well? Anyway, then Psylocke shows up and they blow it up with a mine and it dies. And the movie ends when they discover the regular sized Predator brought a suit of Predator killing armor that looks like Iron Man's suit. Probably should have worn it then, shouldn't you, you dick? And that's it, that's the plot of The Predator. Jesus, I actually feel like I've gotten dumber just by talking about this movie. You know, when I think about The Predator, the word that best sums up my feelings is why? There are so many writing and production decisions here that are simply mind-boggling. Why is this movie trying so hard to be a goofy, snarky comedy with cringe-inducing one-liners and ridiculous death scenes? The Predator isn't supposed to be funny. The first two movies took themselves seriously, and the result was a compelling and exciting story that actually managed to be pretty unsettling at times.
Come on, motherfucker!
Want to kill me?
Ugh, that still freaks me out, man. Yeah, Predator dropped the occasional joke, especially near the beginning, but once people started getting sliced and diced, the script doesn't fuck around. It's all business from that point on. This abomination of a film is basically 107 minutes of talking to some really boring dude with low self-esteem who desperately wants to be liked. So he throws in every shit joke in the arsenal, hoping one or two of them will actually land. And the thing that really boils my piss is the constant references to the first movie. You know, all this is really doing is highlighting just how shit your own movie is in comparison, right, Shane? Why is the plot both monumentally dumb yet ridiculously convoluted? The original movie had a pretty simple, concise setup. A special forces team gets sent into Central America on shady business. They complete their mission, but on the way out they start getting picked off one at a time by some monstrous invisible creature until the last man standing has to take it on by himself. And that's it. That's pretty much the story, because that's all you ever needed. Now we've got all this convoluted bullshit about P.O. boxes, dumb government conspiracies, betrayals, kidnapping, shocking revelations that make no sense, and Jake Busey.
A fucking alien.
This movie is trying to be an action film, a sci-fi movie, a heist flick, a buddy comedy, and a family drama all at the same time. And as I've learned from long experience, if you try to be all things to all men, you end up disappointing everyone. Just ask your mum. Why are Predators now bulletproof? The original Predator was strong and fast, but it was just as vulnerable to damage as us. It could be injured by small arms fire, its equipment could be damaged by explosions, and its thermal vision could be compromised in the right conditions. Its advantage was its ability to remain hidden. It was dangerous, but it wasn't invincible, and it had a weakness that humans were able to exploit. Now we've got this fucking joke that can take grenades and claymores to the face and keep going like nothing happened. A monster that's invincible until the plot decides that it isn't. The battle scenes here are like watching the end boss fight in a video game, slowly chipping away at an enemy's health bar until the final cutscene gets triggered. Why are Predators so interested in harvesting human DNA to upgrade themselves when humans are physiologically, technologically, and intellectually inferior to them? The only reason we've beaten them in the past is a combination of luck, improvisation, and superior numbers. There's nothing about humanity they should find even remotely useful. Why do the special effects and cinematography look like something out of Stargate SG-1? It's all close-in angles, static camera shots, and unconvincing CGI. Maybe it was just my TV or something, but this movie looks fucking cheap and lame in a way the original never did. You know, I miss films that actually look like films, instead of cheap soap operas. Why is every character in this movie a one-dimensional walking stereotype? This is the jokey one, although he's about as funny as a trip to an STD clinic. This is the crazy guy. This is the guy who conveniently knows how to fly a chopper. This is the mostly solid dude with a dark past. This is the explosives guy whose accent is fucking mind-boggling. How exactly does an Irishman end up in the US Marine Corps? Seriously, if there's any Marines watching this, I'd love your insight, gentlemen. The original movie had a diverse and interesting cast of characters, played by actors who mostly took their roles seriously. There was a strong sense of camaraderie and teamwork in the early stages. There were jokes and references to past missions. There was even a bit of friendly rivalry, but there was also a seed of tension and mistrust within the group that gradually caused it to splinter apart as their situation became increasingly desperate. Some characters started out rock solid but ultimately broke under pressure. Others, who began as selfish and secretive, ended up turning good and redeeming themselves. One of them even resigned himself to his fate and sacrificed his life to buy time for the others to escape. But in this movie, there's absolutely nothing to work with. None of the characters have anything approaching an arc. None of them are remotely interesting people that you'd want to know more about. None of them change or develop in any way. They just do what the plot requires and then they die. Why do people think it's a good idea to set your Predator movie in small-town America? The steaming jungles of Central America were a hostile, almost alien environment all by themselves that created an atmosphere of tension, claustrophobia, and paranoia. The bleak, crime-ridden streets and back alleys of the second movie worked pretty well as a predator hunting ground, because it felt like a place that was just as hostile to humans as the predator itself. Both of these locations were dangerous and intimidating, and it fed well into the tense, brooding atmosphere of those movies. But you know what isn't tense and brooding? A clean, tidy suburban neighbourhood, an American middle school, a pine forest that looks like it was shot somewhere in Canada to save money. Everything about this film is lazy and dull and uninspired. It's basically the epitome of everything that's wrong with modern day cinema. A misguided reboot of a hardcore 1980s classic for the MCU generation, raised on movies that are designed to be safe, clean, generic and predictable. The end result is a cynical, low-effort attempt to set up an ongoing franchise that can be milked for all it's worth, because everything has to be a franchise now. But as it turns out, the Predator is worth a lot less than the studio was banking on. Oh well, if anything good came from this disaster, it's that I rewatched the original Predator for comparison purposes, and to wash away the foul taste of the new film, so I'm gonna finish this review on a positive note. The drinker recommends you do yourself a favour, grab a beer, kick back, and watch the movie that started this whole thing. Shit, if you've got time, then give the second one a try as well. It's probably not as bad as you remember.
Come on, motherfucker!
Want to kill me?
Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now!